And this is the critical part of the design. And there is a bit of irregularity in the design. And there is another approach which can look a lot more regular, but which is slower. Because right now, if you go for this solution, you see the critical path is you get from this one, bringing input to this one, which you didn't have before. This is the least significant part of A, this is the most significant part of A. You process them in a different way, but what should strike you is that this looks already like a array multiplier. Not? Okay? I'm not broadcasting unique values, but I'm broadcasting slices of X and slices of A. Then it has the advantage of the regular structure of the array multiplier. It's applied at a larger granularity than I don't have full adder now. I have some more complex things. Okay. This is, okay, it's one of the last items in multipliers. And we'll look on how to build a serial multiplier. For addition was very simple. You could process one bit at a time, a full adder and the flip-flop, and you would obtain, you know, the sum one bit at a time. Now the question is, can I do that for multiplication? Then I am getting these bits one at a time, and then I'm trying to produce the product. Now, it's not as simple as it was for the addition. Due to the nature of the operation, it's not a straightforward approach in order to do that. This is a design which is assuming that one of the operands, it's available, A, it's available, and X is coming in a serial fashion one bit at a time. This is called a semi-systolic design. Then a systolic design, it's a design where there are only local connections, and it's working a bit like the heart. You know, you have systola and diastola. You are pushing information in the system, then it's kind of similar to that. You have a data flow which is similar to the blood in the heart. Now, there are some kind of conditions for such a systolic array to function, and one of them is not to have long wires. You see here there are local interconnects, but this one is long. And this is not a good approach. And it will be good if we can try to derive a solution which do not have such a broadcast line. But remember, this is not really a serial multiplier like the serial adder, because I assume that A is available in parallel. Will that make sense? Are there applications where I can use such a multiplier? Constant multiplication, okay. Because I know them beforehand, yeah. Right? I was thinking more about an application, and an application might be a filter. In a digital filter, I know the coefficients, and they may change, but I know them, and then I obtain the data. Then if A are the coefficients, and X is the variable, I can do serial multiplication with this guy. And what is happening is that whenever you know it's coming, I'm generating X0 times A, and I'm doing here an accumulation. Then I have a sum which will propagate to the next position. This is the shift in the multiplication. And I have a carry which will contribute to the next iteration. Then it will take me k cycles in order to complete a multiplication. It's similar with k cycles for a k-bit addition. I need more hardware because I have to do that accumulation of the products in a serial fashion. And I'm implementing exactly what we know. Then I am doing the accumulation of the products in here. And because of the shift, you know, some bits can be reported for output. And then I'm consuming 1 bit per course clock cycle, and I am producing 1 bit. But there is something else. Whenever I finish X, I still have to do some kind of work in order to report for output whatever is inside. Because K bits will be ready for output, but the last K bits are inside my system. Then at the end of the day, it will take me longer. Now, one problem which is present in here is this long line. And if this is very long, then I have a lot of bits, you know, operands which are large, this will create a problem and will dominate the calculation. In here it's simple, you know, the cycle time is actually the delay of the full adder, plus some kind of overhead in order to store the results. Okay, now, this is called retiming, and this is another discipline. It's not computer arithmetic, it's logic design. Maybe you heard about retiming. Okay, is there a course like tools, and then you are a bit familiar with that. Then essentially, by retiming, I'm just trying to do some changes in the propagation delay. I make a cut in the circuit, and in that cut, you know, I can advance or delay some of those signals, but that will have some kind of implications on the boundary. Then if on that cut I put some latches, I have to remove from another place latches. Then what I want is I want to preserve the timing of my circuit by drawing, you know, cuts through the system, and on those cuts I'm putting latches, then I'm putting delay elements. Now, if I apply retiming, I can, you know, put some kind of extra transfer. Now, let us look at my design, you know. I didn't like the fact that I had a long line. And I wanted to cut that long line in pieces. And I can cut it here, here, and here. Applying the principle of retiming, because I put here a latch, I am delaying this signal, which means I have to advance this signal, then to remove a latch. Okay? Then essentially, if I apply retiming to the circuit, which was my initial circuit, this is what I obtain. And what I obtain is brilliant, right? I don't have a long wire any longer. But do I have a problem?
Carry has to ripple through all the flooding?
Yes, sir. Then my cycle time, it's out of control now. Then I solve the problem in here, but in here I don't have latches any longer, and then when I'm doing the calculation, this will go through the end. Then my cycle time will be, you know, a lot larger. Then that's not good. And now what you do is you do a trick. Then nobody precludes you of duplicating the registers in the initial design. Remember, the initial design had a latch here and a latch here. If I put here 2 latches, this will still function. You know, I'll have to clock a bit more, but it will function. Then I replicate that latch, and I'm doing the cut. And because of the fact that I replicated in here, I still have one ledge. I have also ledges here, but I have a double ledge in this area. Then I solved my problem, but it was another effect which I got now in the clock. I cannot process a new input in the next clock, because first of all, this has to be moved from here, and then I can accommodate a new input. Then while in my previous design, I was sampling an X bit each and every clock cycle, now I have to do it each and every 2 clock cycles. Then I have now a system which is systolic, is working, you know, the full adders are separated with ledges, but somehow I lose 50% of the time in doing, you know, that information shift. Okay. Now, this is a serial multiplier which can be applied only in the case that one of the inputs it's available and the other one is coming. If both of them are coming in a serial fashion, you cannot use it. Or you can use it, but you essentially lose all the benefit. You can say, okay, I'm waiting for A, I'm storing A until the end, and then I'm starting the calculation. Now, a good multiplier, a good serial multiplier, should be able to deal with both operands coming in a serial fashion. And this is a design of such a multiplier, which is a bit more complicated. But let us concentrate on the generation of the partial products while new bits are coming. Then if I am here, then don't look at this diagram as it is now, just look at these 2 bits. If I have those, the only dot that I can generate is this one, right? If I have those and those, I can generate more dots. Then this is what I had in the previous cycle. I have to keep it, because if I drop it, I will lose some of the combination. Then I have 2 new dots appearing. And now, because I have all these 4, what I can generate is, this I had it already, and the other 3 dots are the combination due to the new occurrence. Then this times this times this, and this times this. Then what you see is that I have to have a way to remember the previous values of the operands. If I don't do that, I'm lost. Then I'm not doing the calculation. That was not the case for addition. I was not supposed to remember what A0 and B0 were when I was doing business with A1 and B1. In here, I have to store those. And what is happening is that whenever I have, let's say I did some magic, and I managed to do some kind of addition on these dots, and now I have 2 new dots coming, then those are already computed. It's because of those dots which came before time moment A. Now, the appearance of these 2 dots will generate what I'll call a diagonal, which are those bits, which are AI multiplied with X from 0 to the current phase. Okay? This is a new row, which is Xi now multiplied with this, and their product. Then I already see somehow the principle behind such a serial multiplier. I have to have a way to store the yellow diamond somehow, and we'll see how. And then I have to have a way to generate the new diagonal row and the point in the corner and accumulate those numbers with what was before. Now what I see is that essentially I have one number which is this, and another number which is this diagonal. I don't have to draw it like that. I can also put the dots like that, right? And then I have those two numbers, and I have a previous value. This rings a bell, right? Here is save addition. Then if I had a new number and I stored the previous number as two numbers, I should try to do the same trick. But now I have a problem. If my previous value will be stored as two numbers in the way we did for carry save addition, I have two numbers plus two more numbers. Then I have now to do 4 to 2 reduction. I can do it, but it will require two full adders level, because I will make first the reduction 4 to 3 and then 3 to 2. Now, this can be done, will not be any problem, but I also can do something else. I can use 3 numbers to represent the previous accumulated product. And then instead of relying on 3 to 2 counters, I will rely on population counters, which are 5 to 3 counters. And this is the scheme. These are the previous values. The result of the addition in the yellow box. In here, I have the row and the diagonal. And then I apply those counters, which are now 5 to 3 counters. And this is the new number. Okay? Now, because I'm consuming 1 bit at a time, I also have to generate something for output. And then this is shift and inject it back. Then there's the reason why this, when it's coming here, is losing this dot. Then essentially, it boils down of having some counters which are accumulating now 5 numbers into 3 numbers. 3 numbers are the value which I computed thus far, but you know, with the gliding window, because I'm reporting for output. And the 2 numbers, which are the new guys, are coming from the 2 new bits coming into the picture and whatever I had before, because I have the diagonal and the row, which will grow until I arrive, you know, in the most significant point where, you know, this will be very large and this will be very large. Then practically what I need, I will need to have 5 to 3 counters which are covering this widest area. And this is my design. And this will look somehow like this. And this is what I have inside in the block. Now, so far so good? I mean, it's good to clarify things now because I will move to the next step, which will go into how to actually generate those row and diagonal. Do you want me to go again into the explanation? You know, it's your second chance and last one.
Yes, again.
Yes? Okay. Then my job is to compute the product of 2 numbers. Okay? And I am doing the calculation based on the fact that they are arriving 1 bit at a time. And they come 1 bit at a time. And while they are coming, those are my operands. I don't know them, but my knowledge about them is progressing until, you know, after n cycles, I know them completely. When I have 2 new bits, I can compute a product. In the first position is just this. Then it will be an end of those guys. And this will be, you know, my initial point in the matrix. While I'm growing and I'm going further, what I have to do is to generate the new dots due to the arrival of new inputs. Then I am in this moment, I have two new dots. This was already done. This dot will be multiplied with this and with this, because those are new dots that I don't know, and this will be multiplied with this. Then I will have now those already. I get another one, and then I will have new things, which will generate me even more of those. Okay? Now, each time I get a new dot, essentially what will be the new contribution will be the product of those, which is this point here, and the product of this with the previous part, let's say this is A and this is X, will be this with the previous part of A and this with the previous part of X, which will be the diagonal and the row. Then while I'm growing, you know, I have to store those values somewhere in order to be able to generate those things. And this is about the generation. Now, in order to be able to manipulate the calculation, I have to store the pre-calculated part somehow, right? And in order to store it, I am doing this trick. I'm representing the previously accumulated value as three numbers. Then we know the sum and carry representation. Then if I have a full adder guy, this will give me sum and carry. Now, because I have 5 of those, I have sum, I have carry 1, and I have carry 2. Because this is between 0 and 5. Assuming that I can implement this block, in one stage I can take 5 numbers and compress them into 3. Those 5 numbers are the previous value of the sum. In the beginning, most of those bits are 0, but things are growing. And then this is the row and this is the diagonal. And each time I am getting new bits, I have to form those parts, all of them, okay? And then I have to generate the sum of those guys with whatever I have here stored per column. Then in each column of my design, starting from low significant, going up to the n, because I don't need to have 2n of those. My processing is gliding over this, okay? I'm reporting bits for output. Then in this, each column has such a 5 to 3 counter. Now there are some other things which we need to consider. Then we need to know when, we need to know how to form those partial products. And this is the counter, and there is the logic to generate the dots which are corresponding to the moment that I'm processing. And you see, there is an extra thing here, which is a token, which is passed from one column to the next column. Okay? Then I start with a token, then when I start the calculation, then I have the first 2 bits. I give the token to the first column. What this token will do is will tell this logic that I am actually in the position to compute the point in the corner of this structure. Then I am the one which is providing this. And then, you know, when this token is here, I will be able to generate this guy. If I don't have a token, I will generate the previous value that I stored in here times the new value. Then it's AI times xi plus 1 and xi times ai plus 1. Then when I am in the position to generate the diagonal, I'm generating the diagonal. The rest of the guys do only generate their contribution. Then this is the corner of the diagonal, which I'm generating only when I have the token. If I don't have the token, I will just generate the dots which correspond to my position. And there are two dots. I have a contribution to the diagonal and a contribution to the row. Now, as input data is getting into the circuit, the token is also going further. Then initially, this guy had the token and generated this and nothing else. In the next cycle, this guy had the token. And what the guy generated was this, right? Which is the corner of my triangle, and these two new, a diagonal and a row. And the token is moving each and every cycle to the next column until I arrive to the end. And when I arrive to the end, I still have to clock the system in order to report products for output. And you see, I'm injecting here the token, which is traveling until the end of the column, and in here products are reported for the output. And this is the interconnect between the counters, which is representing that kind of construction. Okay, this is not, it's probably the most complicated multiplier, even though being serial should be simple. But conceptually speaking, if you understand the generation of the partial products, whenever I'm getting the operands in a serial fashion, and the fact that the generation is done, it's controlled by holding or not holding the token, it should be crystal clear. Okay? And I can implement it with 5 to 3, or I can put here 2 levels of full adders, and it's okay. You look exhausted. Why is that? I should look exhausted. Shouldn't I? Questions? Answers? No? Okay. Let us look a bit at the modular multipliers. Remember, we did modular addition. Gesundheit. Oh, you are exaggerating. Too much Gesundheit. I said it like the Germans, right? And this is the way the Americans are saying when they want to show that they are educated and they speak foreign languages. Okay, now, when we are doing modular addition, what we had, let's say, this is an MI channel, and we had 2 operands, which are between 0 and MI minus 1. And if I add them, I have a result which is between 0 and 2 MI minus 1. This is the maximum value. Then if I do an addition, in this case, my result will be okay, then smaller than the maximal residue that I can represent, or larger than that, but with no more than MI. Then when I do modular addition, I even have the result or the result minus MI. Then I have to subtract and moduli. Now when I do multiplication, this is changing, because right now I have only 2 possibilities. I'm subtracting or I'm leaving it. When you multiply, the maximum value can be a lot larger. And you can do 2 things. You can say, okay, I treat multiplication like normal multiplication. You guys, you are having a lot of fun, apparently, right? Don't you? why not sharing with us? We want to have fun too. Or at least I want to have fun. Then, if I treat the multiplication and I say, do it as it is, and I will solve the modulo later on, I have to do a division. Because the result after the multiplication will be very large, and what I have is to do a division and get the remainder. And in order to avoid that, what we do is we do modular multipliers, which are tailored to generate result within restricted boundary. And this is, you know, this is a full header, it's a carry save structure for 2 at power b minus 1. Then I can do parallel things, and I should inject the carry back, because in that kind of addition I have the end around carry. That we know. Now the question is how to build a multiplier which is modulo directly and not to do the division at the end. And then we have here an example on how to design a modulo 15 multiplier. Then, being modulo 15, my numbers are 0 to 14. Okay? Now, this dot here has a weight of 16. Right? 16 modulo 15 is 1. Then instead of letting it here, I will move this dot in the least significant column. Right? Because I'm just looking at the weight of the dot. And I am processing the weights modulo, the modulo that I'm, processing. Then this is my partial multiplication for 4-bit operands. And for normal multiplication, this is looking like that. But because I'm doing modulo 15 calculations, all dots which are here will be replaced in here, because 16 modulo 15 is 1. This is 32. 32 modulo 15 is 2. Then I got here. This is 64. 64 modulo 15, it's 4. Then my matrix became nicely rectangular. And I preserved the value because I did modulo calculations on the partial products with 0 effort. Then just by considering those in the right place, I'm in business. And now, what do? I have a corrected partial product matrix, and I have to make a reduction in order to obtain the right number, modulo 15. I have 4 rows. I know full headers, right? And I apply carry save addition. But now it's carry save addition with end around carry. Then I will take 1, 2, 3 of those, and I am building a carry save header. Whatever was going out into this, the carry of the one in the most significant position is actually coming back. And then after 2 levels of that, I arrive to 2 results, which now I can do addition modulo 15, which is normal addition with end around carry. Then practically what I did was to pre-process the matrix in such a way that my numbers, my partial products, are valid numbers, modulo 15, these parts. And then I did the processing based on carry save headers, which are modulo 15, and carry propagate header, which is modulo 15. Now, I was lucky here. It's a nice example. If the products are, you know, different, things may look a bit ugly. And this is a modulo 13 multiplier. Then, now I am processing those guys, but this is 16, which modulo 13 will give me 3. Then, instead of having 3 dots here in this, I will have 6 more dots, which are appended to column 1 and column 2. For 32, I have this, and for 64, I have this. Again, due to the fact that I did that modulo calculation based on the weight of the position, I do not do any effort. There is no calculation going on. It's just the rerouting of the partial products. I'm computing them with gates, and instead of bringing them to this column, I will rewrite them to this column, and you know, there is also kind of replication when the value is larger than 1. Now, if I want to do the exercise further, I will have a small problem, because modulo 13, it's not exactly a simple matter. And I might do modulo 15 compression, and then in the final addition to do modulo 13. Then I rely on intermediate calculations in a modulo which I know how to handle easy, and then I go to the final calculation in modulo 13. Then the idea in general is to keep the numbers as close as possible to the dynamic range where you do the calculation, but to do simple calculation. And this is the structure of such a tree, which is reducing a partial product matrix corresponding to a modular multiplier, and essentially those are your inputs. In a table, you will determine the compensation that has to be added. You do the reduction to 2 rows. You also have here some compensation, and then you will have now a final ladder which will bring things exactly in the dynamic range where you want. In some cases this is easier to do, in other cases it's getting more complicated, but the concept is simple. You just compensate some columns while you do the compression, but also you may need to do that later on. I won't give you such a design for Excel. But you may get a simple design, maybe for homework for the one that will be treated. Maybe also in the exam, but not a very complicated one. Just one where I can see that you understood the concept of remapping, you know, columns, modulo, something. Okay. Now, in some situations, you do a particular case of calculation, which is squaring, which you can solve with multipliers, but because of the fact that the operands are the same, you can design a piece of hardware which is a lot simpler. And in here you have an example on the fact that you see, because this is x0 times x0, you have it directly, because those are the same, you actually don't have here anything, and you can propagate stuff. Now, this makes sense to do if your engine is doing squaring very often. But such a piece of hardware cannot be used for other things but squaring. Then if you take a decision about an architecture, you have to see which one is the best solution. Because I can go, I have a processor, and I can do it in the 2 ways. I have a multiplier and a squarer, and I have 2 multipliers. Which one should I choose? We can think together, right? The first one with multiplier and squarer will be cheaper because the squarer is actually smaller. The partial product is less complex, but it will not have flexibility. Then if I have two multiplications to execute in parallel, I cannot do it. But if I have two multiplications, I can do two multiplications in parallel or two squaring in parallel. Then somehow I have to be careful when I'm taking a decision at the architecture level whether or not to rely on such an approach, on squaring. And because the things, they are equal, you can apply the principle of divide et impera also for squarer, which will result in less complex structure. Now I think this is the final slide on multiplication and addition, which is kind of a good stop, even though I still have some time. And this is giving you a picture about how to deal with multiply-add units. I was saying that in modern processors, we mostly have a unit which is executing the math instruction, multiply and accumulate, which is good in filters, and which is essentially absorbing an addition into the multiplication matrix at no cost. Then you don't see it exposed to you like an extra cycle for an extra addition. You just see it as part of a multiplication, then it's coming for free. Now, when you design such a thing, you can rely on many kind of, representation of your numbers. And in here there are some. Now, basically, I would go a bit further than that. If I have a formula, a mathematical formula, and I'm saying compute x, which is equal 3y plus, I don't know, a times b. Okay, let's make it simple. Let's make it like that. And I'm telling you, let's say y, it's a 4-bit number, a and b are, okay, let's make it simple, also 4-bit numbers. And I'm saying design a unit which can evaluate this. Now I can think about two approaches. I can do a multiplier, and then I can do an addition. But I also can try to do what is called merged arithmetic. And what I'll do, I'll try to create a matrix, a dot structure, which represents this calculation. Then this is A times B, right? This is the multiplication of... Sorry?
The last two have 5.
Okay. I'm too optimistic. Okay? Then this is 1. Then what I have 3y. And what I will do is I will put, this is y, and I will put also this, which is 2y. Then I'm not computing 3y. I'm just, and this is my matrix. I apply full adders, and here I do nothing. I apply here, here, here. I may put one here. I may put another one here. I get some results, and then I go to the result in this way. This is an approach to compute more complex formulas by designing special purpose hardware, and this is called merged arithmetic, and can be also iterative in the sense that one of those values may be stored in a redundant format. And I think with this one, I'm precisely on time and ready for division on Wednesday. Then thus far your life was simple.